the first thing we need to do, is actually to get the data set. And how do we get the data set? The link to this website, that's the data DNA website. We're going to leave the link in the group, but you can actually see the link up here. It's just onyxdata.co.uk. You can actually just search for it. onyxdata.co.uk. I already have it before now, so eventually to bring you to their homepage. This is actually their website. This is their homepage, but you then have to go to data DNA, and you have to go to data DNA data sets. That's their challenge data set. So you get to see the challenge, the data set for the challenge of this month. That's October. So once you're on the website, just scroll down. You come here and click on participate. Just click on participate. Once you click on participate, you then, of course, you have to put in your name, put in your email address. You select the visualization tool you want to use. For me, for this session, we're using Power BI. So you have to select the visualization tool, which is Power BI. Then you just click on download. Then you will be able to download the data. I'm not going to click on download now. That's because I've downloaded the data before now. So I don't need to click on download. So I'll just close this. Then I'll just proceed to opening my Power BI, where I'll have to bring in the data. I hope everyone can see my screen, please.
Yes.
This is the old Power BI. I have to move this up. Okay, so I have that's a blank Power BI here. So the next thing we need to do is bring in the data, right? We need to bring in the data and look at what the data is talking about. It's actually an Excel file, so I'll just click on import data from Excel like we've done before now. We always do. The data is in my downloads. Okay, it's in my desktop, so I'll just get it from my desktop. Open. So you're always going to find two tables. The first table is the data dictionary. It's more like a dictionary trying to tell you the columns you have in the data, what they mean. So what I do most times is I just check both tables, right? Eventually, I'm going to delete this dictionary. I really don't need it. I'm going to delete it much more later when I'm done with my analysis. But for now, I'll just take the two tables to Power Query. I'll come to transform data. Great, so this is Power Query. Remember, the dictionary is just giving you the different columns you have in the data, what you get to see the meaning, what they mean and what they stand for. It gives you an insight to what you're going to be working with. This is the data itself. So quickly, I'm going to change this. This is data DNA data set. So I'm just going to change this. I'm just going to change it to, I'll just call it employee data. So next is, once you get your data into Power Query, the next thing you always need to do is you start observing each column. You can quickly do a column profile. You come to view, come to column profile, right? The profile for each column, this will tell you. Now the profiling is based on the first 1,000 rows. You can actually change this to be based on the entire data set. So I will just come down here and say I want to change my profiling to be based on the entire data set. So this will give you an insight to each of the columns you're dealing with, the data type for that column, the number of rows, errors, distinct, unique, and all that. So you quickly can use column profile to achieve that. So it's trying to get the information for the first column we have here, which is the employee ID. You can actually see that the employee ID now we have a count of about this is 100,000 employee, 100,000 unique, 100,000 distinct. We have okay, these are very irrelevant because we're dealing with ID and it's a whole number. So you can do that for each of the columns you have up here. If you switch to this column, you get to see the details about this very column, the profile for this very column we're in, then for gender. So we're going to be observing each column closely to know what's actually on this column. This is where you get to confirm your data type, right? You have to be sure that if this column is saying employee ID, you can come to your data dictionary and check. Employee ID means unique identifier for each employee. So this is employee ID, is whole number, this is the data type. Data type is whole number. You have to make sure that everything you have here is actually whole number. You get? Just make sure everything you have there is whole number. The data type tallies with what you have up here. You can't be having, but for ID, it really doesn't matter because even if I change this data type to text, it still doesn't matter because we're not performing any calculation with this ID in the recent. We're not going to be adding or subtracting. It's just the count or distance count we're going to be doing for the ID. So it really doesn't matter. But for department, you have to make sure that the data type you have here is text and everything is text. So we have the ID, we have the department. So this is the employee ID. It represents ID number 1 means employee number 1. This employee belongs to the department of IT. The employee, the gender is male, so it tallies. The age is actually 55. Then we have the job title is a specialist. Then this is the higher dates. Now, it's talking about higher dates. There's no business with time. We don't have any business with time here. So I have to change this data type to make sure we're only talking about dates. So I'll quickly just change this to date only. I'll replace. So this should be talking about dates, not date and time. So you change the data type to dates. So the years at company, this is whole number. It's also correct. Then we have the educational level also. We have the performance score, monthly salary, work hours per week. Then we have the project handled, overtime hours, sick days and all. Okay. Then we also have remote work frequency, team size, training hours, promotions, employee satisfaction score, and resigned. So for you to really get what this column means, come to the data dictionary, right? Start looking at each of the column, department, the department in which the employee works, gender of the employee. These are all the information. They are all here. You get to get a clear information about everything you need for each column here. I've already gone through this, so there are a few changes I'm going to be making here, just few transformations I'm going to be making here, right? One of the transformation I'm going to be making is I'll come to where we have resigned, right? So resign is actually talking about if that employee is still with the company or the employee resigned already. So resigned, false simply mean the employee is still with the company, the employee is active. True simply means the employee is no longer with the company, which means the employee is inactive. I don't know if we get the concept, right? But then I don't want to display true and false. Rather, I just want it to be either active or inactive. So there are a lot of ways to go about this, right? You simply can create a conditional column from here, or you simply can just replace the value of false. I don't know which. You can just replace the false value here and say, I want to replace this false value. I want it to be active, right? Okay, so I can't do this. So better still, let's see if we can create a conditional column and say if the resigned is equals to false, it should be um, then active. Then if it's else, it should be inactive. So we can add a conditional column and say conditional column. So this column, I may just want to call this column status, and I'll say if the column, now the column we're referring to is resigned. Why can't I find the right? How is deceiving me? Can't see resign here. Okay. Yeah, so if it's resigned, I if it's equal to is it equal to operator I want to use now? Okay, let's try that. So
Equal to false.
if it's equal to false, then we want to say it's active, right? Else we want to say is inactive. Let's see if this works. I'll click on OK. So you can actually see that we have the status, and if I click on the drop down on the status, we only have two status here, active and inactive. That's what we have. Even if I say load more, we're only going to get active and inactive. We're not going to get any other one. So active and inactive. So the active is tied to the employee is still with the company, while the inactive, the employee is no longer with the company. So at this stage, you can actually decide to remove this. You can remove this column if you want to. You can leave it there if you want to. So I'm just going to load the data to Power BI so we can actually continue from there. So I'll just come to home, close and apply. So I'm going to be sharing a document with you guys. I can't remember where I got the document from, but the document has actually has been helpful when it comes to um, analyzing HRO data and is it employee data now. It's really helpful. It talks about some of the key KPIs you have to look out for when you are analyzing HRO data and employee data. I'm going to share the document with everyone. I can't remember how I got the document, but I'm definitely going to share it with everyone. So this is the document I'm talking about here. It's a simple document about okay, it's about 44 pages or so. But what this document is looking into is when you're talking about employees, HRO is talking about the metrics you should be looking out for. So it's very important when you're trying to analyze data, right? Data from a particular domain, you get to use the terms associated with those domain, with that particular domain. So if we're talking about HRO, you should be using terms associated with HRO. So when an HRO personnel sees your report, he or she should be able to understand that, okay, this is what this person is talking about. What do I mean? So these are 10 HRO metrics every company should track, right? The first metric that I talked about here is headcount. So if you go through this document, headcount is going to tell you headcount is the total number of people who are doing work for the company at any given time. This includes all permanent, temporary, contingent, and gig workers. So do we understand what headcount is simply talking about now? Headcount is simply talking about the total number of employees we have in the company, from permanent to temporary to contingent to gig workers. That's what headcount is talking about. So if I go back to my Power BI now, right? Um, I like to create a separate table to always hold my measures because we're going to start writing some measures now. So I'll just come to enter data here and I'll just call this table DAX, right? And I'll say load. So this is the table. So we already have our data here, right? This is our employee data. It's already in Power BI. These are our employee data. So from the document I'm going to be sharing with you, one of the metrics they say you should look out for is head count. And head count is simply saying what is the total number of employees we have in the company. That's what head count is talking about. So for me, we're going to be using that document as a guide, one. We're also going to be adding our own possible metric if we have any, if there's other metric we want to look at for, we're going to be doing that also. So with this knowledge, you should then be able to analyze this data perfectly. But this data, I've tried working on it, so there are some few challenges you've definitely come across. But we're going to talk about those challenges here also. So one thing about data analysis is it's broad. When they give you this kind of data set, it's actually really broad. You have to think about how you want to approach it. You have to think about, is there a problem? there are a lot of problems. Which solution am I going to be providing to this HR department? This is beyond just saying you want to know the total number of employees, the ones that have left the company, the ones that are in the company, the ones that are working in this department. It's beyond that. So you have to try as much as you can to try and come up with a story, right? What do I mean by a story? Think about this flow that I've written down before now. So I said my analysis will go this way. First, I want to look at the demographics of my employee, which is my workforce. What do I mean demographics? So I want to know the employees, right? How many do we have? Gender-wise, demographics in terms of gender-wise, the age, the department, the roles. So basically, the first thing I want the head of HR to see is this is the current employee we have in the company. This is the demographics of the employee. Remember, so put your story this way. The company just hired a new head of HR. He's on board. This is the employee data. He just told you now as the analyst to, okay, please give me a report. I want to see a quick report about the employees we have in the company right now. The first thing you want to show to your head of HR is, okay, this is the demographics of the employee we have in the company right now. From there, I would want to proceed to the cost, because for every company, employees are being paid. It costs money to run the company. They produce money for the company for sure, but they are being paid. So this is the cost it takes us to run the company in terms of our employee management and all that, from salary to bonuses to every other thing. To leave allowance, you have to pay every other allowance. This is what it costs us. That's more like the workforce, the cost of the workforce. So for this analysis, what I have written down was I'm going to proceed from demographics, right? I'll talk about the employee demographics. From there, I'll proceed to talk about the cost of these employees, right? What it costs the company for these employees. Then I'm going to proceed to the productivity of these employees, the performance of these employees. Because when you're done talking about the demographics and how much it costs the company, the next thing we want HR, head of HR should be thinking is, okay, these employees, is there anyone that is doing, are there employees that are not doing okay that we have to let go? Are there the ones that we have to tell to buckle up? Are there ones that we probably have to say, you know what, they are good here, we need them to come on board to another department or head this department? So think about the change that happens in a company when a new head of HR, not even a new head of HR, when a new boss comes into a company, the shuffle that happens. Think about when is it the was I always remember his name, but now I can't remember his name. Think about when he bought Twitter and the change that happened. A lot of people were dropped out. So think about those kind of things. So I bet the first thing he did when he bought Twitter was, head of HR, please let me see my workforce. Okay, this no, I don't need this set of people. You can actually manage this department alone. Those are the changes that happen. So it's not just about jumping straight to the data. Think about, just try to make up stories in your head. Think about it. So there was a time I worked for a company and we had the marketing department was separate, right? The sales department was separate. So they had a change. The new owner came in and he said, I want my sales department and my marketing department to be one department. I don't want them to be, I don't want that split anymore. So those are the changes that happens when, so you think of your analysis in that direction, like, okay, this is the demographics, this is how much it costs, this is our current performance and productivity. Then finally, the last thing I wrote down is we should now be looking at the trends. The trends meaning this data it runs across, let's check, I think we have this data for a good number of years or so. So yeah, so see this is the higher date here. So if I click on the drop down, you can actually see we have data from 2014 to about either 2017 or so. Sorry, that 20 okay, it even exceed 2017 to 2014 2024. So we have data from 2014 to 2024. 2014 to 2024, I think so. We should have 2024 somewhere. So you should now be looking at the trend, some of the trend. When I mean trend, you can look at the key metrics, headcount, in people that are leaving, that's turnover, and as many metrics you should be looking at. How have we been trending over time? So I'm going to share the document with everyone. Like I said, the first thing we should be looking at in this document is you look at the head count. Head count is there. Then turnover. The next metric is turnover. Turnover is simply talking about the number of employees who leave a company over a certain period. So you know what that means already. In our data, you actually have a column that says, is the employee still with us, or if the employee is active or inactive. So that tells you you should be looking at turnover rate. Um, on the document also, if we continue now, we have diversity. So we have a lot of metrics on this document. I'm going to share the document with everyone. It's not my document. I'm not the original owner. I know I stumbled on it somewhere and I saved it on my system. So I'm going to share it with everyone also. So we have the total cost of the workforce. Remember I mentioned this already. Then we have different employee engagement. Engagement should be talking about what is it called now? Performance and all that. Talent acquisition. So there are a lot of metrics on this file I'm going to share with everybody. Look at productivity here. We're talking about productivity here also. So productivity captures the amount of work a person can perform or the amount of work output a person can generate in a given amount of time. So this is productivity. And if you come to the data, you will actually see that we have a column that talks about productivity, if I'm not mistaken. Okay, so you have a column that talks about performance, right? In terms of productivity, you have work hours per week and project handles. So that's already speaking to productivity. Because if you look at what productivity is saying, it captures the amount of work a person can perform, right? How many projects did this employee handle? Or the amount of work output a person can generate in a given amount of time. So I'm going to share the document with everyone. So the next thing we want to do now is start creating. Um, we've written everything. We've identified the metrics we want to start with. The first thing we want to know is the total number of employees we have in the company. Like I said, I created a table already that I always want to hold all my measures. So I'm simply going to right click on it and say new measure. I'll just call this. Now, I'm not going to call this total employees, right? Because I know the HRO term for employees is headcount. So I'll just say headcount. Or should I say total headcount? I'll just say headcount, right? So I have employee ID on my data, so I can make a distinct count or count. I can make a distinct count or count. I'll get the same result because I know the employee ID is non-repeating, is unique. So I can just say count or distinct count, whichever one is actually fine. And I'll refer to employee ID and I'll close my bracket. And that should be it. So the first KPI card I want to have for this analysis should be the head count of the employees. One thing I always love to do is increase the canvas size for my analysis. So I'll come here, format, I'll say canvas settings, right? And I'll change it from this 16:9 to custom. I would say I want it to be 1080 and I want this to be 1920. So I have a bigger canvas to work with. So this is the first KPI card I actually will be using for my analysis. So I'll bring this here and just say this should be head count. So the head count is showing 100K. I'll change the format. So format color value and should be none. So I actually have 100,000 employees. So I can come here and just put a comma here. So this is the first KPI card I'll be looking at, right? The head count, which is more like the total number of employees. One thing I'll do, I don't need this column 1, so I'll just delete it. Yeah, so I have my measures up here. So now we have the head count. But in order to avoid any form of confusion to the head of HR, he sees that we have 100,000 employees, but we really don't. The 100,000 employee we had before now, not not all are active. So we have employees that are active that are still with us and the ones that are no longer with us. So I should be able to tell my head of HR that from the particular year 2014 to 2024 that we are now, we started with we had 100,000 employees, but as of this very moment we're talking, this is the number of employees that are active. This is the number of employees that are non-active. So that brings us to we now then creating another measure to say active employees and inactive employees, right? So I'll just quickly create another measure and call this, I'll call this active employees. So active employees now, I already have a measure for headcount, more like the total number of employees, right? So I'll just do a calculate function here because it will enable me to add a filter context. I'll say, what do I want to calculate? I already have headcount, so I don't need to write another measure. I'll just say calculate headcount, right? But I want to filter it to where, not filter now. Yeah, I don't need to write filter. So I just say calculate headcount, but I want it when status, when employee status. So filter it to when employee status is what now is going to be active. So when the employee status is active, so this will give me the active employees, right? I still can create this again for inactive employees. I'll just make a copy of this new measure. I'll paste this here and change this to inactive employees. So I have to change the name. This is no longer active, this is inactive employees. So with this, I should have two more card visuals, right? I should have one more card visual here. So this is going to be for my active employees, right? Then I should have one more card visual here. This is going to be for my inactive employees. I think one thing I'll do is just add a comma here. So the reason I'm removing the format, either using K or so, is because I can't be telling the head of HR that it's 89K. I have to be specific with the exact number. I can't say 89K. So imagine I come and I say, okay, I want to change the color value. The display unit should be 1000. This is 90K. So we are talking about the exact number. We need the exact number, not either 80 or 90K. So that's why I'm not using any format option. So now we have the headcount, we have the active employees, we have the inactive employees, right? Now there's a term associated with the employees that are still currently with the company. So that's where we now talk about employee retention rate, and there's a term associated with employee that are no longer is with the company, which is turnover rate, or I think attrition rate. So on this document, we had something like that. You can go through the document. You see that we had turnover rate, and this turnover talks about. So turnover talks about the number of employees, right, who leave a company over a certain period of time. So we have turnover rate also. So the next KPI I should be looking at should be the retention rate and the turnover rate also. Those are the two things I should be looking at for retention rate and turnover rate. So the retention rate is simply saying this is the head count, right? What percentage of this employee that are active? That's more like the retention rate than the inactive employee. That's the turnover rate. So I would just make a new measure here, right? And I'll call this retention rate. And the retention rate, like I said, is simply saying we want to divide, right, our active employees. We already created a measure for that by our headcount. So I'll just add a comma 0. So I think I want to have another KPI card here. So I'll make it bigger than this and just put this here and remove and replace. So I have 0.90. So I'll format this to format from general to percentage. So 89.99% retention rate. Then we can go ahead and talk about turnover rate also, which is more like of these 100,000 employees, what's the percentage of employees that are still with the company, retained with the company? Then of these 100,000 employees, what's the percentage of employees that are no longer with the company? That's basically what these two things are talking about. So we should be looking at turnover rates. I'll simply say divide now, right? Inactive by headcount. I can bring in another card visual here. Okay, great. So I don't encourage having more than 6 KPI cards up here. This is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I don't encourage having more than 6. I don't know, maybe you can try 7, but I really don't go more than 6 KPI cards here. So I think one of the KPI cards I should be looking out for now is we talked about the headcount, active, inactive, retention, turnover. I think one thing we should look out for, if you come to the data set, one thing I included was what's now the average salary, monthly salary. So we have the monthly salary here, right? This is the monthly salaries for employees. So we simply can just we can just also display that okay, we want to see the average monthly salary. The head of HR should see, at least see the average monthly salary for employees. So I'll just make a new measure, right? And I'll call this average monthly salary. This will just be average. Column is monthly salary, and I'll close the brackets. So I'll make one more card. I'll just replace this with okay. I'll format this much more later. You can just come to format, color value. I don't want the decimal, so I'll change it to 0. So this is the average monthly salary. So with this, we have about 6 KPI cards, which I'm actually satisfied with, right? We have about 6 KPI cards, which I'm satisfied with. So there are other, you can on your, the reports can actually be more than one page, so maybe 2, 3 pages. So you can actually take other KPI cards to the next page if you have any other one you want to include to this. But I'm working with this. This is what I intend to do. This is what I've done. I'm already creating a mock of my report here. I'm working on it already. So this is what I intend doing actually. So here I set max monthly salary and mean monthly salary. So you still can actually switch that. If you don't want to show um, the average monthly salary, right? You don't want to show this. Maybe you can opt to showing the max monthly salary and the mean monthly salary, whichever one is actually the choice is yours. So for the max monthly salary, if that's what you want, you just can create a new measure here and say max monthly salary, and just call on the max function, and that's salary. Okay, so the table name is actually employee data, right? Table name is employee data. We are looking at employee monthly salary. So employee data, then employee monthly salary. So you can decide to say, okay, I don't want to show the average, rather I want to show the max and the mean. So this is the max monthly salary. For the mean, you go ahead and create another measure for the mean monthly salary. So remember, I'm walking you through a story right now. I'm walking you through the story. I'm trying to think the head of HR in my mind what he's going to ask for. So it's either he's going to ask for the average salary or say, no, I want to know the max salary we pay in a month, and I want to know the minimum salary we pay in a month. So the choice is actually yours. You can actually do any of this, and I think you should be fine. So with this, we've identified some of the KPIs. That's the KPI cards we're going to be using for this report. We've actually identified some of them. The next thing we then need to do is to go deep and say now we want to look into the demographics. Demographics then is talking about the gender. If we come to the table view for our employee data, we should be looking at the gender, the age, right? Then we can look at the educational level also. Then we can also look at probably the department, and if there's any other thing you want to add to that, yeah, department also, yeah. So the first thing we're always going to look at is the gender. Is there equal diversity between male and female? Yeah, I don't know. You can never maintain that equal diversity, but let's just look at it and say, okay, let's bring a donut chart here now and say this is the donut chart, right? And we want to see the head count, right? Then we want to see the head count by um, gender. The legend should be gender. So this tells you that so we actually have the distribution of male and female employees actually just 0.3%. So 48% male, 48% female. Then we have other genders about 3.97%. You can see my screen, please. Is everybody with me?
Yes.
Yeah. So
Yeah, we're following you.
yeah. So
Yeah.
so
Yeah, I can see your screen.
okay, great. So this is just the gender distribution, right? This is the gender distribution. So quickly, this is where I'm going to talk about ZoomCharts. So I've received a lot of questions. People asking me, do I need to use ZoomCharts for me to participate in this challenge? So there are two things actually. The challenge itself is data DNA challenge, right? That's data DNA. This is the challenge itself, right? Now you necessarily don't need to use ZoomCharts for if you just want to participate in data DNA challenge only. So ZoomChart is actually one of the sponsors. So what they do is they said, okay, you know what? We are the sponsors of this challenge also. We have our own visuals. For you to qualify for our mini challenge, that's ZoomChart now is a mini challenge under the main challenge. For you to qualify for that, you have to use our visuals. So look at it right here. It said first prize, first place wins 2 ebook from Park, the data analytics interview software worth $500, right? Then the top 5 entries, 2 books for Park. Now ZoomChat is now saying participate in ZoomChat mini challenge and win additional $300 Amazon voucher. So for you can create your reports and say, okay, I don't want to use ZoomChat. But then it's interesting when you now use ZoomChat, you now stand the chance to win 2 prizes. So imagine you can win 2 prizes, which means you can win, your report can enter for data DNA and you win a prize. If you use ZoomChat, you can also enter and you get to win this $300 Amazon voucher that is here. So it becomes interesting. So for you to be able to do that, you have to scroll down, right? This is where, see, this is where it talks about how to enter ZoomChart mini challenge for Power BI. You register with ZoomChart, right? You register with them. So when you click on register, I think it will bring you to this. Yeah, this is where you get to register. Put your name, put everything you need. You can see immediately I click on it, my name comes up. That's because I've registered before now. So you register to use ZoomChart, right? You can see all the details here. Register to use ZoomChart, right? When you register to use ZoomChart, now on your Power BI here, you then have to go to the App Store, get more visuals, right? Get more visuals for you to be able to get the ZoomChart visuals to your Power BI. So if you search for ZoomChart here, you start seeing the different ZoomCharts. This is one of them, Drill Down Pro, and so I'll just type Pro. There are a lot of them, so just search for them on this App Store here. Yes, look at ZoomChart, Drill Down. They have map, they have a lot of visuals here, so just search for them. This is their column charts and all. They have a lot of them. So I have some of them, a couple of them here. They're always dark with PRO in them. So you can actually check this website also. They have their own website. You can check their website, see the different products they have here. These are their charts they have here. You can check their website and you'll be able to get their visuals here. So now this is the donut chart, native donut chart for Power BI. But see how interesting it is. I want to change this using ZoomChart. I'll switch to ZoomChart. Look at how ZoomChart displays its own donut chart. Then you get to see male, female. Now the reason I prefer to use I want to use ZoomChart for this, not just because I want the $300 per chart. Because it's interesting when you use ZoomChart. So I'll just make a simple adjustment here. Now, yeah, start free trial. Yeah. So now, ZoomChart gives you this interesting ability for you to you're looking at the percentage of male, female, right? What if I want to see the percentage of male, female, and I quickly want to see it across departments? Which means on my category here, I can come down, bring department and add it here. You can do this for the native visual also, but that's when you get to drill down, right? But see how simple it is here. So I have male, right? Female. I can just click on male and it drills down. It shows me the male across each department, right? I can click on the middle, it goes back. I can click on female, it shows me the distribution of female across each department. I can go back and I can click on others. It showed me the distribution of other gender across the different departments. So see how easy it is to interact with the reports. Now, the moment I click on it, watch what happens to the numbers up here. Also, they behave the same way. So that is it for just talking about ZoomCharts there. So next, like I said, we're looking at demographics right now. So now my demographics is going to flow from, is there gender balance in the company? So what do you guys think from what we have in data? Is there is there equal gender balance? The company, are they biased, or are they biased towards a particular gender or not?
There is gender balancing for me.
Okay, yeah.
Is it diversity? Is it the same thing with diversity?
Yeah, it's the same thing with diversity. So if you look at that document, you see we actually have something like diversity in that document also.
Yes, sir. Can you drop the document on the chat?
Yeah,
Yeah,
don't
so we
worry,
can
don't
have
worry,
access to
don't
it.
worry, don't worry. I'll send the document across. It's not mine. I
Okay,
don't know.
thank you.
Yeah, I'll send it across. So now we're looking at demographics right now. So we're going to proceed from gender now. Like I said, we then have to go to, let's look at, so we have age here. This is age. We want to know the age of the employees we actually have. So one thing you need to know, see one tricky thing. When I did this, right, I used headcount. But then the head of HR is not, you're not really looking at the employee that have gone. He doesn't want to know the gender for the employees that are no longer with the company. He actually wants to know the gender, the demographics for employees that are currently with the company. He's not really interested in employees that are not with the company right now. So instead of using headcount, right? Instead, I should be talking about active employees. So I will bring active employees. So this should be giving me active employees. So you can actually see a little difference. So male are 48%, right? Female are 47%. But in the recent, the two of them are actually 48%. So this is where it becomes interesting and it becomes your title, your chart title. I'll quickly just talk about that now. Your chart title should now become interesting. Now, this is actually showing active employees by gender and department. You should be specific. You should not just say total employees by gender and department. The total employees by gender and department you're talking about, how many of them are active? You don't know. So you should be specific that, okay, head of HR, currently, we're talking about active employee in the company. So from there, we'll proceed to age. Now, if we bring a stacked bar chart here, right? Bring a stacked bar chart here, and we have age. This is age, right? It's going to sum it up. So I don't want it to sum, right? I'll just simply navigate. I actually want my age to be on the y-axis, right? Then I want to bring, now I'm not going to use headcount. I want to use active employee. So I'll bring active employee. There's a problem. So you can actually see that we have a lot of, what is it called? Values here. This is where you now need to create a bucket for age. So for this age, we can then create a bucket and say if you are between 22 to, okay, from 22 to 29, from 30 to 39, just a bucket. You create an age bucket. So rather than use the age the way it is here, you can actually create an age bucket. So we have 22 years to 60 years. So in order to be fast, I'm not going to create this bucket again. I'm just going to copy the one I've created before now. I'll just navigate to my bot, but I'll just explain what the code is doing. So I have age bucket here. I'll just copy this. Don't worry, I'll explain this shortly. We're likely to get an error because my table name is not same. So while you're on your table view, right? We're on the report view, but now we're going to the table view. This is the table view, right? You want to now add a new column. This new column should create an age bucket. You want to group, more like grouping the age into a particular gap. So I'll just say I want to add a new column here. Right? I want to quickly add a new column and I'll paste the code I copied. Now it's throwing error because my table name, they are not the same. So I'll just check that. This is actually employee data age. So this is employee data. 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 So let me quickly explain what's going on here. So there are two ways to achieve this while you're in Power BI. You can either use the if function or switch function. But we're using the switch function because it's easier. What I basically said is I want an age bucket. That's the name of this column, right? So I want you to switch. What do I want you to switch? I want you to check the employee data. That's the age. If the age is greater than, I already know it's actually 22 years. So this even greater than, if it's greater than or equal to 22, I already know it's 22 years. The minimum age, the lowest age is 22. But then I'm saying if it's between, this is basically saying if the age is between 22 to 31, I want you to say the age is 22 to 31 years. Now I'm saying if the age is greater than, that's 32 now, right? I stopped at 31, so I'm saying 32 and 41. I want you to say this is 31 to 41. Then if the age is actually 51, that's 42 to 51. I want you to say it is 42 to 51. Now, I already know the max age is 60, so I'll just say between 52 to 60 years. So once I commit this, I can then come to my report view. Instead of using the age column, I'll use the age bucket. So this will be the result of my visual. So I now have an age bucket. This is where you now do a simple format. You can just come and turn off the x-axis title and value and just go there and turn on data labels. So it's not looking nice, right? So you can expand this and do some formatting here. One thing I want to do here is for the value, right? I want it to be none. So you can actually see there's not much difference though. This is 23090, but you can actually tell the difference right now. So so you can go ahead and format the values also. Now I just quickly want to address something too. So there's this perception that when you use a lot of, I got this funny perception that you're not supposed to be using a lot of one particular visual in your report. Like let's say you're using this stacked bar chart, you're going to be using bar chart all through your report. Your report should be, you should have some other visual, it should be mixed. So don't get it wrong, right? If one of the goals is select the best chart for your report. If the best chart for your report is a bar chart, and everything you want to create in your report, if a bar chart will tell the story, simple, easy, straightforward, use a bar chart. If it's a line chart that will tell the story, use a line chart. Don't go into that mix of saying, no, I don't want to use a bar chart. So you can actually try different charts. But one thing I will encourage you is don't go and try this thing I want to do now. Don't do this. This is a funnel chart. This is a wrong chart already. And you still cannot use a line chart for this. Right? You agree with me, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
We
So,
agree.
yeah. Can I use a tree map?
No, not at all.
So if you feel a bar chart is close to what I believe when the head of HR sees this, he should be able to tell that, okay, now there's something we'll address here also. Now, if you look at the age bucket we have here, we have 52 to 60 years, 20,814. We have 31 to 41. It's not really a range, right? What if we want to go from the youngest to the oldest? Which means we have to sort this in a particular way that it flows from 22 to 31, 32 to 41, 42 to 51, then 52 to 60. It has to flow in that way. But now if I come and say sort and sort by each bucket, it's still not going to give me the right value. Oh, wonderful. It gives the right value in this case. So now you have 22 to 31, right? You have 32 to 41. There are situations you won't get it this way, but we'll address that as we go on. We have 42 to 51, then we have 52 to 60. So the head of HRO can easily tell that we have young employees, right? We have employees between 22 to 31, right? That are 23,000. They are more. They are not. They are okay. So 42 to 51 are actually more. That's about 2309 or so. So I don't know if a donut chart would be good for this. I didn't think about it. I've not thought of it. But look at the way a donut chart is looking. Yes, a donut chart tells you the percentage of the employee, but then they are all looking the same. So I don't know if this is a good visual or we'll go back to what we have here. So this is for employee age, right? We're done with that. So remember, we're looking at demographics. We need to move a little bit fast. So the next we should look at then is in our demographics. We want to look at should we look at now? Okay, yeah, we've talked about the age, we've talked about the gender. Let's look at department. There's something I did for employee department also. If you, because this data, I don't know, the data is, it's not really, it's more like a mock data, so you're about to have some funny challenges. But now if I come and make a visual here and I say my next visual should be, I want to see the active employees, right? And I want to see their departments. This is what you're going to get. I really did not like this visual. When it came out like this, I did not like it. I was like, no, I can't have it this way. So I decided to do something, right? What did I do? I simply said, okay, from my knowledge, I know that most companies, like the company I work for, the marketing team, right, and the sales team, they are always together. There's nothing wrong in you trying to optimize your report. You mustn't work with the way the data comes. You can do some little transformation. I know that the marketing team and the sales team, they work together. I know that most times the finance, you always hear something like finance and legal. They are almost together. And I know that IT and engineering, sometimes they are together. Then I know that, so, okay, sometimes HRO and is it customer support or HRO, they are, HRO and operations, sometimes they are together. Then customer support, most times they are on their own or they are together. So I also created, I tried to aggregate that. So I did something like this, like what I have here. So it's more like merging some departments together. So I have something a little bit okay because data is not evenly distributed in the way I wanted. So we still can do that here, right? So to do that, I'll just come to transform data, right? So I want to create a new department. I'm not working with the department that came with the data. I want to create my own department. So we've done the conditional column before now. So you come add a column, and I said I want to add a conditional column. So this column name, I'll just say it's a new department, right? And I'll say I want where the departments now. Remember that we are talking about text value here. So if you use equals, you may not even get the right answer to what you want, the right classification. So I'm going to use if it begins with, right? What are the departments we have? I want to combine IT and engineering. So I will say if it begins with IT, I want you to call this department IT and engineering, right? Now, this is taking care of IT department. So I need to add another clause and say if the department also begins with engineering, right? This should be also IT and engineering also. Next, I want to go if the department begins with, if it's marketing, right? Then I want it to be sales and marketing. Also, I have to cover for sales now. So if the department, if it begins with, if it's sales, then I want this to be sales and marketing also. So next I need to cover for finance and legal. If it begins with finance, then I want this to be, excuse me, finance and legal. Then next, if the department also begins with legal, should then also be finance and legal. So we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Okay, so I need to confirm the other departments we have. Okay, so we have HRO, then we have operations. So let's navigate back to. So next, if the department belongs to or begins with HRO, so this should be HRO and operations. Then finally we'll cover for operations and say the department begins with operations. This should be also HRO and operations. Then we only have the customer service, so I can say the customer service should be CXC department. That's what they call it in my company. So I'll just click on OK. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to be sure that we have the right thing, right? I want to do a check. I'll just right click and I'll say move to the end. So let's be sure we have the right thing. We're doing the right thing. So this is IT and engineering, right? So IT, finance and legal finance, CXA, customer support, IT, engineering. So I think we're on the right track, right? You can see my screen, right? So this is sales and marketing. And we
Your
have,
screen is not.
you can't see my screen.
You can see clearly.
Okay.
I can see it from your own end.
Okay, great. So we have a new column now, which is the new department. So once we're done with that, I'll just come to home, click on close and apply. So instead of using the department that came with the data, I'll change my department now and say I want to use the new department I created. So that should make the data look a little bit okay compared to what I have here. So I can come and say I want to remove this department, right? And I want to change it to my new department. So this is what my new department will give to me. I think I prefer this to what I had before now. So one thing you can do, you also can say you want to put on your data label, right? This is your data label. It's not looking so good, right? So always remember to format your x-axis, for example. You don't need the values and the title here in this case. What if I want to show these active employees, I want to show it as a percentage of grand total. Is it meant to make more sense like this? So the head of HR can actually see that this is 22.35%, this is 22.23%. I think this is better this way that, okay, in the marketing department, they have the highest number of active employees. Out of the 89,990 employees we have, the sales and marketing department, they have the highest number of employees, which is about 22.35%. So that settles, um, um, that's the department. It looks a little bit better. So next on our demographics, we're looking at demographics. Remember, we're looking at demographics right now. I think we should add one more thing to demographics and we're done. We should move from demographics. You can't cover. So one thing also, if you have like how many columns do we have on this data? Can't tell. But then you mustn't cover everything. Your story should follow a particular pattern. Just pick the, how will I call it now? Just pick the side you want to follow. You mustn't say, okay, you want to cover every aspect. Pick the aspect that are most important. So I think I want to cover educational level, right? Educational level. I don't know if I added it. Yeah, educational level. Yeah, I want to cover educational level. So I want to just see the educational level. So I want the head of HR to see the educational level of the active employees. So we still can come up with another start bar chart again and say the head of HR wants to see the educational level of the active employee we have in the company. So remember, we need to pick our active employees again, right? Then we need to come down and say we want to see their educational level. So this is the educational level of the active employees we have in the company. So if I resize my screen, you can see it's not looking as terrible as I expected. But remember, you have to put your report together. So for me, I can just, what I'll do is just create a shape like this, right? Bring it here. Remember, I'll format all this much more later. Eventually, I'll format all this. I'll come to format, for example, and say I want to send this back, right? I can fit everything in this shape I have here. I can fit everything in this shape I have here, right? And I just give it a header, much more later, and say everything here is talking about employee demographics. Now see, everything is talking about employee demographics, right? So for this shape, I can say I don't want of style, feel. I don't want feel. I can just bring something here and say the analysis begins this way. I have my KPI cards up there. Then everything I have here is talking about employee demographics. Then each of my charts is going to have a very interesting title that will captivate the head of HR team to see that I already have employee demographics. Next, we're going to move to the what did I say we're going to look at again? Was the product, that's the in terms of salary, right? Salary. So if you come to the table view here, we have what we call monthly salary here. We have monthly salary here. So you should be looking out for stuff like, what do I have here? Let me confirm. So average salary by job title. Yeah, that's the first thing I have here. Average salary by job title. We already have a measure for average salary, if I'm not mistaken. So we have different job title. We want to know the average. How much are we paying engineers, the different people we have? How much are we really paying them? These jobs, how much are we paying? What's the average salary? So we can simply create a. Now, I don't know if we're going to use another chart, but I'm just going to stick with what we have already here. I'll bring this down here, and we're looking at active employees also, so I'll just remove educational level and replace it with job title. Interesting. This is not looking okay. So I use active employees, so we're supposed to look at average monthly salary. Yes, average monthly salary. Average monthly salary. So this is average monthly salary. So this automatically just tells us how much we're paying each. You see, engineers are receiving good amount of money. Let's see the average monthly salary actually. Let me put it on. Let me put on the data labels. So you can see that are you sure we're not going to change career from analyst to engineer? What do you guys think? See how much engineers are earning. See how much analysts are earning. Analysts, they are not earning money. Is anybody with me on the call?
Yes, sir.
Are you sure we are on the right
We have
career?
to get
Are you sure we're on the right career?
Are you sure we're on the right career path?
Actually,
Then combine the both together.
oh, you want to be
No worry, we migrate from analyst to manager. We can migrate to manager.
see even yeah the analyst.
It is easy like that.
Okay, great. So
that is analytics manager.
okay, that's okay. So one thing I'll do is like I said, I would use ZoomCharts, right? So for ZoomCharts, for example, I'll switch to using the drill down combo bar chart, right? So it's not going to show quite well. So the category is job title, but the average monthly salary is on color, so it's in the wrong place. So I'm going to move it from color. I'm going to take it to series 1. So this is it. It's the same information, but one thing I will do now is, now I have the average monthly salary for across the different what is it called now, job roles, right? What if I want to be sure for each department, I want to break this down, I want to drill down to different departments. So which means I can come up here, right, and I can simply say I want to add departments here, right? So when you're looking at engineers are earning a high amount of money. So let me see. For engineers now, you have engineering department. No, I'm not going to be using this. I'm going to be using the new department we created. Sorry. I'm going to be using the new department we created. Where's the new department we created? So I want to drill down by the different department, the new department we created. So engineers. So you can see that engineers in sales and marketing, IT and engineering, how much they earn and all that. There's a lot of formatting you need to do here because the titles are not actually complete. But you can see what we have here also when you're using ZoomCharts, and you can see the average salary each of them, and engineers are earning way more than any other person. So when we're done with that, the next thing we should be looking out for is that should be the value, right? Now you're paying engineers a high amount of money. You saw it just now. But who is contributing more to the company in terms of value when it comes to how much you do pay them, right? So that's where we have the average value contribution by the job title. Average value contribution by the job title, right? Average value contribution. And how do we get the average value contribution? So we first have to look at the value contribution. The value contribution is simply saying what is the average monthly salary of this employee and what is the number of projects handled by this employee. We have those two information in our data, right? We have those two information in our data already. So I'm also going to share this Microsoft Word document with you guys. So look at what the value contribution does. It compares salary with output, helping to identify employees who provide the most return on investment in terms of project completion. So I'm going to share this document also, so don't be worried. So quickly, we want to look at the value contribution, right? If engineers are earning a lot of money, are they contributing? What is the return on investment for the engineers? Is the money we pay them equivalent? You hear some people say they pay me a small amount of money and I handle like 50 projects in a month. Why this person that they pay a high amount of money cannot even complete 20 projects in a month? I don't know if you guys get me. So basically, the monthly salary and the number of projects handled. So I'll navigate back to where we are here. So we'll go to table view, right? And we'll say we want to create a new column, right? And we call this column now value contribution. And I'll say that I want to divide now. What do I want to divide? The monthly salary, right? The monthly salary by the projects handled. So this will tell me the value contribution. So this is done. So I'll just come back to report view here. Right, I'll make a duplicate of, or I'll just create a new visual. Yeah, so this is a new visual, right? So now we want to see the average value contribution by the different job title. So watch what is going to happen here now. So I'm going to bring the job title in and I'm going to say we can create our measure now and say new measure, right? New measure. And call this, we'll call this average value contribution, and say average. We have a column called value contribution already. So great. So next I'm going to say I want to see the average value contribution. So I'm going to put these two charts side by side, so we'll see if the salary we are paying these guys is worth it. Okay. So what do you think is going to happen? What decision do you think is going to happen from here? You can see that the engineers, they earn more than the managers, but the managers contribute, they add more value to the company in terms of projects handled by and value. The managers, they have more value compared to the engineers, but the engineers are being paid more. So what decision do you think you will make from here? So as the head of HR, are you now going to say, you know what, engineers, I'm getting more value from my managers compared to my engineers, so I would want to I want to balance the scale. I want my managers to earn as much as my engineers also. Do you think that decision will be fair?
I don't think so. Instead of demoting them, I think.
No, you're not demoting.
Sorry, did I get the question?
Okay, so now the amount of money engineers are earning and managers is actually almost the same, right? See, this is 7,799. This is 7,798. They are earning the same amount of money, do you now say that because managers are they have more value 704 compared to 690, should I increase the salary of the manager? At least I say, okay, managers, you know what? Let me add a small amount of money to your salary so you earn more than the engineer since you bring more value. Is it going to be fair? Or we should just leave it this way, or we should say, okay, it's okay, doesn't make any more difference.
Okay, for me, I don't agree with you, or I probably increase the number of engineers so that practically they can meet the same salary threshold.
Okay. So
That's what I was doing my own now.
that's your decision as the head of HR to make. Any other person with any other contribution?
Yes, yes. I think for me, I would likely increase the salary of the manager because they are bringing the most value to the organization. It's not all about it's the value we are talking about, and value usually translates to cash, meaning that it may be the manager that is bringing even more money than the engineer. So I would likely increase their salary.
Okay. All right. So that's your your job is the role of we're playing the role of an analyst here, and we're trying to tell the new head of HR that okay, this is the average salary. Yeah, go ahead, please.
Please, sir, I don't think we can actually measure the value contribution by the total project they executed. This is because that project differs. The roles of manager is different from the roles of engineer. Engineer can handle a project throughout a year.
Okay.
It depends on the complexity of the project.
Okay.
And why manager will do maybe manager oversee do supervisions of each project in various sites or project sites. So to me, I don't think we can actually measure the value through the number of projects they handle. That's my own best
Okay,
of knowledge, sir.
so I'm not going to say you're wrong. You're not wrong actually. But what we're looking at right now is the context of the data we have right now. I don't know if you get me. Yeah. We're looking at the
Yes,
context of
I got it, but it depends on the industry we are working on, and we
exactly.
don't
So
have the insight.
yeah, exactly. So
But
I don't.
can't we use performance scores?
Okay, so don't worry. We're going to get to performance score shortly. We just have about 30 minutes to um
All right, sir.
on the call. We're going to look at performance score not quite in a very short while. I don't
Yes, sir.
have access to the chat right now. I can't switch to the chat right now, but if there's a message on the chat, I think there's a message on the chat, so let me quickly just check. Okay. Yeah, thank you. So I think that question has been answered by Victoria already. So if you're familiar with SQL, when we talk about buckets, it's more like we want to group also. So bucket and group, they are similar, they are the same. So back to what we were saying. Yes, so what you said actually makes more sense, but it makes sense. I'm not going to dispute that, but in the context of the data we have here, it's something we can actually bring to life. That's because each of the departments we have here, right? You can actually see we're looking at. So let me put it to you this way. Look at what is going on this way. Yeah, you said engineers can handle. Yeah, I'm not disputing that, but the context of the data we have here, we are looking at each employee, right? So imagine this employee, for example, right, is a manager, and this employee handled 23 projects, right? Then we have another employee here who is an engineer down here. So let me just filter to engineer. And you can see engineers, they handled a lot of projects, 40, a lot of projects, 16, 39 and all that. Some handled just one and all that. So we are just, this is the data we have. There are a lot of the industry you are and where you find yourself, there are a lot of context that will come into play. But trust me, this is just a dummy data that was given to us and to work with, and we're trying to make the best out of it. And that's why I'm telling you that, okay, yeah, there's a value contribution by the different job roles. If engineers contribute more, you can actually see that between engineers and managers, every other person, I think what they are being paid and the value they contribute is actually, there's no big difference. So with that, we can then go to, now we're looking at what is it called? We're looking at this is that's the salary. In terms of salary, that's what we're looking at now. We have about 2 charts already. I don't know if we're going to add any more charts. If I add any more charts for that, okay. Okay, so I don't have any other chart for value and salary. You can actually explore. The reason I'm saying you can explore, you can actually compare salaries between two. You can compare salaries across what is it called now? Educational level. I thought about that. I said I was going to look at the salaries across educational level, and I was going to look at the salary. So I'll just put it on the group. I'll put it on the document here. So salary across educational level, right? Bachelor's degree holders, how much are they being paid? Salary across educational level. Then finally, I said I was going to look at salary across the number of years you spent in the company. I'm going to share this with you, so you don't need to worry. So those are the 2 charts I'm going to add. I'm going to look at this and add them to my visual, so you think about it and add it to your visual. With that, we're quickly going to just proceed to the next 30 minutes. We're going to be looking at, so we're going to be looking at majorly productivity and performance. Now, in terms of productivity and performance, you want to know, there's no specific metrics for productive. There's a metric for performance here, right? Let's go to the table. Let me quickly explain what I'm saying. There's a metrics for performance here. We have performance score, right? 1 to 5. Then we also have a metrics for, we have project handled, work hours, and all that. So there's something I did, right? Let me just go to the report I have. I'm still working on it, but there's something I did. So I wanted to determine productivity. I want to define productivity, and I also wanted to define performance. But then, if I work with just this performance score that we have here, I don't know the metric that have been put together to determine that performance score. But then, if you come to the performance score here, this is the performance score. You can see that performance is between 1 to 5. Performance score is 1 to 5. So something I would do, I can decide to grade this performance score. I don't know if you get. I can say 1 is bad. I can say 2 is fair or poor performance. I can say 1 poor performance. 2 I can say 1 maybe very poor performance. 2 should be poor performance. 3 should be fair performance. 4 should be good performance, and 5 should be excellent performance, rather than display 1, 2, 3, 4. I don't know if you get me. So you can simply write a switch function for that, or you can just come to transform data, right? Come to transform data, and you add a new column to your table, conditional column, right? And I'll say this should be performance class, right? I can say if performance, that's performance. So performance score now, if it's equal to 1, I can say very poor performance, very poor. I can add another clause and say performance score is equal to 2. This is poor. Then, excuse me. I can add another clause and say performance is equal to 3. This should be good. No, it should be fair. Then I can say if performance score is equal to 4, it should be good. Then if else, it should be excellent. I don't need to say if it's equal to 5. Then I click on OK. So this is going to classify performance. One thing to do, I always validate anything I've done. So I'm going to scroll and look for performance score. This is performance score. I'm going to right click and say move to the end. So I can compare this side by side with what I have here. So I know excellent is 5, 3 is fair, 2 is poor. Then I know very poor is 1. Okay. So with that being said and done, I'll come to close and
So how about we change the data type to text?
oh yeah. I forgot, that skipped me. Nice one. You should change the data type to text also. So I'll go back and do that. Transfer data.
Apologies. What will happen if we don't change it to a text?
Nothing really. But so this is, look at what is happening here. He's confused. He doesn't really know which data type. That's why you're having text and values. But you know this data type is actually text. So you have to be specific. You change it to text. Change it to text. And you close and apply. So now your performance score. So watch what is going to happen now. Watch the story I want to make up now. I want to see the employee performance, right? I want to see the employee performance. So we are done with demographics, the salary we pay them. Next, we want to talk about performance. So we are following a particular structure. We are not just jumping from, we are not visualizing gender, employee, demographics. The next thing we go to performance. The next thing, no, we're not doing that. So I will come to a new page and say this page, we want to just talk about performance here. Performance and productivity. So we'll bring in you. Okay. Then we want to look at that's performance class. Then we look at our active employees. So look at the value I'm having. What do you guys make of this? Is this a good visual or a very bad visual?
Very bad.
Why do you say very bad? Because it's actually what we have in the data.
I can't
Just information.
So let me put on. Just hold. Let me be sure.
Okay.
I'm doing the right thing. So if I put on the data label, right? I'm coming, please. Let's be sure that we are doing the right thing. Let's go to values. So what is basically saying, although it looks like it's a wrong visual, but it's not really a wrong visual in the real sense. But ideally we'll sort this from poor to very good. Yes, exactly. This would be a good example to talk about that, how we sort it. So now it's telling me that out of the let me go back. Let me go back here. Out of the 89,990 active employees we have, right? 18 so this should be in percent, so it makes more sense, right? So let's say we want to see this value in percent. So 20% of our employee are performing poor, right? They're performing very poor. Another 20% are performing poor. 20% are performing excellent. 19%, which is more like 20%. It's not really, I don't know if you guys see the way it's looking. It tells you the right thing, but I don't know if this is a good visual. I don't know if I would want to put this to my report. What do you guys think, please? We're working together here.
Why not use a column cluster chart
Okay.
instead of this bar chart?
Okay.
A column chart, the one that is always vertical.
This.
I will suggest pie chart or donut chart.
So let's use ZoomChart, donut chart, and see.
I think this is better. You ask me.
Okay, you think this is better, right?
What would this tell me? If I'm looking at this from a distance as somebody who is not a data analyst, practically this is not telling me anything. It's just different colors in the sample.
No, so what we want you to do, what we want you to do now is
Can we just group it into good, bad, fair?
okay, we can actually do that. So that means
Maybe we should just group it into 3 so that we'll not have
okay. So let's go
this
back
breaking
to
down too much.
yeah. So let's go back. I like that your suggestion right now. So let's go back, right? Let's go back and make a little adjustments. We can always make these adjustments. We don't need to do everything all over. We just can come to the conditional formatting we have here, right? And
Can just give it poor, fair, and good.
so this should be poor, right? So
Yes.
1, 2 should be poor. This should be fair, and this should be
Yes.
good.
Fair,
Okay, so this should be good.
The excellent two should be good.
Yeah, so this should be good also, and this should be excellent, right? Poor, good, excellent. Is that it, right? So
No. The third one, no.
okay.
The third one should be fair. Then
third
the
one-
last 2 ones should just be good.
Okay, so the third
This
one.
one should be fair.
So you want this to be fair, okay? Fair performance. This is fair performance. Then this is good performance. Is actually
No, the 4 one should be good. Why the last one should be good?
okay. Yeah, 4 should be good. 4 should be good.
Three categories, okay.
Yeah, so let's yeah, this could work though. This could work. I think this can actually work for us. So let's see now. Let's see. Let's go back to our report view, allow the data to load. Come back to our report view. Okay. Let's see what happens. Better. This is awesome. Thank you guys. This is why it's good to work together. So you can actually okay, yeah, somebody was saying he doesn't understand what this data is telling us data. So we're trying to look at our active employees. We want to know their performance. So from this, you can actually see that 40% of our employees are performing poorly. So what decision do we do? Are we going to drop them, or are we going to say, you know what, we need you guys to couple up?
Well, maybe a kind of in-depth analysis on why they are performing poor should be.
Thank you.
Should be.
Thank you. Next, thank you for that. So let me draw your attention to something.
And is it also possible to narrow this down to maybe those employees that are not performing well? Right? It's possible
Okay,
to
so-
like drill through to those not
Okay.
performing well.
Yeah, so
Maybe they take
that's the beauty of ZoomChart for you, right? This is ZoomChart, right? You will not be able to. Okay, so you have a lot of employees, right? You can drill down. You can much more later create. You can go to each department and try to see the employees that are not performing, that are performing poorly there. But there's something you can quickly do while you're here using this ZoomChart. That's the beauty about ZoomChart. You can add different layers to this that you can drill down to, right? You can add different. We are looking at performance class here now. You can say, okay, I want to drill down to the department. So if I come to poor performance, you will now see IT in terms of poor performance. You will see that this is not a good chart yet. You can format this actually, but you see the different departments when it comes to poor performance. You see the different. Look at it. I'm looking at poor performance here now. 40% of this poor performance. How is this 40% distributed across the different departments I have? So I can drill down and I'll see that. Okay, so almost all the departments they have poor performing employees. All of them have poor performing employees. So if you go back, this good performance, 39%, you still can drill down and see, okay, they have a fair amount of high performing or good performing employees also. Then look at fair, you can also see the drill down also. One thing I want to tell you guys, this data was actually put together, right? So you're likely to see, it's more like, I don't know, it's a mock data. So, but now you can see, you can take a decision from this and say, okay, employees are really performing, they're not performing, 40% are performing poorly. What can we do? Right? Somebody said something about why are they performing poorly? So there's something on this data that talks about employee satisfaction, right? Employee satisfaction. I think I saw something like that. Yeah, look at employee satisfaction score. Look at the employee satisfaction score. Are you seeing it? So employee satisfaction score is still between 1 to 5. Are you seeing it? Are you with me? So what if we see, this is performance, right? What if we go ahead and create another pie chart and classify satisfaction into dissatisfied, satisfied, and very satisfied? What do you guys think of that? So in the V sense, what I'm trying to say is, I don't know if I've done this before, so let me just be sure. Yeah, so I have satisfaction buckets here. So I'll just copy the satisfaction bucket, right? I want us to quickly see something to be sure. So while we're here, I'll say I want to create a new column. So I want to put this, so this is referring to employee data. So it's the same principle I used earlier. That's the principle I'm using here also. The same principle I used earlier when I created the switch function. That's the same principle I'm using here also. So I'm just going to say, so what I used was low satisfaction, high, okay, so low, okay, so let's use, in terms of satisfaction now, let's use this, satisfied, let's say these people are, around this region are satisfied. Then let's say these people are very satisfied. So we have satisfaction buckets. So now I can come back here, right, and just make a duplicate of this and put it here and remove the performance class and replace it with satisfaction buckets. So what do you think right now? 24% of our employees, they are not satisfied. So this goes further. You get to ask more question. Why are they not satisfied? So it's up to the head of HR to find out why 24% of the employees are not satisfied. That's up to the head of HR to find out. So you can keep going. But one thing you also can then check. One thing I want to also check. So ZoomCharts, they have what they call the scatter plot. They have a scatter plot, this scatter chart. They have their own scatter chart. It's not on Play Store yet, but I think you can actually search for it online, download it, and you can bring it. Let me see, ZoomCharts scatter chart. Okay, yeah, so this is drill down scatter pro. So let me see, you can actually, I think you can download their scatter pro if I'm sure. Yeah, so this is how it looks like. There's a place for you to download this. Probably need to sign in or start free. I'll get the link for you to download this and add it and send it across. But what I'm trying to visualize is, right, if you come to the data, right, you'll see that there is what we call, what is it called? We have remote work frequency. Remote work frequency. I don't know if everyone is with me. Remote work frequency. Is everyone with me, please?
Yes, sir.
So what I want to check is there a relationship between performance and remote work frequency? Is it that their performance, they perform better when they work from home, or you need to tell them to come to the office? I don't know if you get me. I think I did something like that. So this is what I got. So okay, so this one is relating to, this one is talking about the project handled and remote work frequency also. So maybe we look at, is there a way, a relationship between so I click on the scatter chart right now. This is the scatter chart. And I say, okay, is there a relationship between, we want to look at, what do we want to look at right now? That's their performance, right? Between performance and working remotely. Working remotely. So I'll just simply come down here. This is not supposed to be sum. I'll say average. I'll say average. So I'm trying to see if there's a correlation between working remotely and the performance of these employees. So if I come and go ahead and put on the trend line, you can actually see the trend line going upward. Is everyone seeing my screen, please?
Yes, sir.
Yeah. So so with this, much you can actually see the way the line is trending. It's trying to tell you there is a relationship to an extent between the performance of these employees and them working from home. So this is where you now get to take a decision and say, you know what, I think they perform better when they work in the office compared to when they work from home. So one other thing you can also look at before we go, you can also, yeah, I have in mind to use 3 scatter plots or 2. One of them I also want to look at is, I also want to look at, does the number of years the individual, the employee spent in the company, does it have anything to do with the employee's performance? Does it have anything to do with the employee's performance? I also wanted to look at that also. Like, because I know that some people, when they've spent a large amount of time in the company, they become reluctant. They don't really want to work that much. They feel, okay, I've been here for a very long time, so I don't need to always take my work seriously. So we just can make a duplicate of this, right? And the only thing we want to see is the number of years. So I'll just remove the average, that's the work remote, and replace it with years in the company. Years at the company. So this should be average. So you can actually see it's trending downward. This is trying to say there's no relationship between um, there's no really strong relationship between the number of years the person has worked in the company and performance. So you can put all this together, right? I'll send you the document. You can put all this together, everything we've covered, to create your own reports and participate in the challenge. We are already, our time has already elapsed, so we're going to call it a, is it a quit or a day here? So I believe with everything we've talked about, you can actually go ahead and create